What screams trashy parents? When their kids could literally set the world on fire and they'll blame anyone else to avoid responsibility. Kind of like the parents of rapist Brock Turner? Exactly like those parents. But this will ruin his life. Bitch, he already ruined someone else's, he deserves to be punished. That case really makes my blood boil. He ruined his life. Thinking it's okay to rape someone will ruin someone's own life. Being sick enough to do it will ruin someone's own life. Victims reporting crimes aren't responsible for that. When his dad said, "For 5 minutes of fun, I could have punched the TV." For 5 minutes of action, I believe it was. It may as well have been rephrased as, "for nothing," with how flippant it was. Kids running around a store trashing the place and not a parent in sight. Kids in diapers running out into the middle of the street with no parent around. This is what initially got the ball rolling on getting my brothers and I taken away from my mother. My youngest brother, 2 at the time, was outside running around in a diaper and neighbors called the cops. Cops came, mother wasn't home, entered home, drugs, paraphernalia, taken away. Never tried to get us back. Enough people have probably already said sorry to hear about your situation honestly. The quote, "never tried to get us back," says something. You probably had a better life as a result because the alternative was a nightmare custody scenario with a shitty mother and foster homes. Hope you make something of it and you and your brother find your own ways in life. Yes, I think about it a lot. I can't imagine what kind of life I would be living if I would have stayed with my mother. I'm so grateful I was able to get out of that environment. Mothers who sees their daughter as competition. I see you've met my mom. Just here to make sure I don't qualify. So far so good. Same, these are low hurdles. Few. Social media influencers whose entire content is their children. People who publicly punish their kids online. Parents who give out way too many details about their children, giving them lack of privacy. Child exploitation at its finest. There's a lady on TikTok who posts constant videos of her daughter naked in the bath. And the number of pedophiles commenting how they couldn't wait until she was older was disgusting. Someone else called her out on it and how it's only harming her daughter, so what does she do? Turn off all comments so people will stop harassing her about taking down those videos. And keeps on posting for the pedos. There are so many parents like that. So many. The bath, in diapers, potty training. It makes me so angry. Changing your kid's diaper in a Walmart parking lot and throwing the diaper full of shit on the ground for someone else to deal with. I'm trashy enough to have changed a kid in a parking lot, but who TF would just throw it on the ground? And Walmart has freaking bathrooms with change tables. Completely unnecessary. Changing your kid's diaper in the back of your car is a perfectly normal thing to do as long as you dispose of the used diaper properly. Refusing to believe their kid can do wrong. Or refusing to believe it can be right. Cussing out the officials at a little league game. Telling your child to punch another player they tripped over. I coached T-ball, the kids were pre-K to 2nd grade. I had a mother inches from my face screaming at me because I asked her child to sit down for an inning. Because he was hitting kids in the head, with a helmet on, with a bat. It was one of the wildest things I had happen to me. Not the last though. My friend's dad was our coach and had to step in front of parent who was going after the umpire after his son was tagged out at home. The kid tried to plow through the catcher, and the catcher held on and his son fell on the ground in a cloud of dust. The dad came stomping out like a buffalo and my friend's dad woed him up before he got the umpire and held him back. We were 9 and 10-year-olds. The umpire was like 15. It was a fall ball scrimmage. Parents who use their kids to get likes on TikTok. Parents who use their children for clout culture in general rather. Babies in the background of twerking videos. It's just weird. Yeah, we rather have cats doing their thing in the back or foreground. Oh, any day of the week. Bonus if it's fighting invisible goblins or wailing at its human. When I waited tables in college, I saw a mother fill her young toddler's bottle with Coca-Cola. I thought it was just horrible. I had a friend in elementary school who was very obese, not just a chubby kid, but very unhealthily big. She pretty much never invited me to her house except once, and while I was there I met her 5 younger siblings. The youngest wasn't even 1 at the time and they were all equally huge. They were all drinking huge bottles of pop non-stop the whole time I was there, even the baby. It was sad to watch. My friend moved away when we were 12, but I'm still in touch with her on social media. She's still big but not nearly as much as before, and she has a daughter of her own now, A lot of her posts are about healthy meals she's cooking for her and her kid, so it's nice to see that she hasn't carried on her mother's bad habits. Refusing to continue your parents' poor habits and raise your child with healthy meals whilst bettering yourself is a massive Chad move. Drugs and alcohol while pregnant. Actually know someone with fetal alcohol syndrome. Mom, and her dad, were, obviously, an alcoholic who was so drunk didn't realize that one of her kids drowned. The girl gets placed in foster care, gets adopted. But it's absolutely maddening to see how one's addiction can negatively impact someone's life. This girl definitely could have gone to college, raised a family, but due to her fetal alcohol syndrome and the intellectual disabilities that came along with it, she can only work minimum wage jobs, she struggles with social cues, and is extremely hyperactive. One of my uncle's sisters is an alcoholic and so is her husband. Their son was born with FAS and looks it. He complains about how his grandmother had financial power of attorney over him, yet he can't control himself with money. My mom told us once she was glad her uncle, her mother's brother, never had children as both he and his wife were raging alcoholics. I knew one Ukrainian orphan with FAS and severe intellectual, physical stunting from malnutrition. When he stayed with us for a few weeks at age 12, he was mentally and physically 7 with baby teeth and no secondary characteristics. He's still pretty short and has severe attachment issues, but at least his voice has matured, and he's getting the academic help he needs. But others? Eastern Europe is a terrible place to be an orphan. A family friend adopted one severely malnourished 14-year-old the size of a 4-year-old in with the motor, mental, and verbal skills of a 3-month-old. He's grown by leaps and bounds, pretty much a toddler now, started eating solid food and sitting up on his own. He's still nonverbal and a baby for all intents and purposes, though, but he's making astounding progress. I lost count of how many parent conferences I had that went like this: me, you child's grades and behavior are horrible. Them, I don't know what to do. I've tried everything. Me, like what? Them, I took their PS5 away, and their Xbox 360, but then they went crazy, so I gave it back to them. Me, so you tried like nothing? We tried nothing, man, and we all out of ideas. It's like telling Gene Krupa not to go boom 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 bo bap bap. Kids destroying other people's stuff, property, and the parents are just standing there and laughing like it's a form of amusement. Once went into an older movie store and there was a child bashing the glass with his ball and throwing the movies all over the floors. The mother, presumably, let her child continue to do that despite others' protests, including the managers. I don't fault the child, doesn't know any better. The mother should have been asked to leave the store with her son. Ah, I see you've met my neighbors. I don't know how many times child services has been called on her and she still somehow has him. He's not supervised, at all, ever. I get shit whipped over my fence on the daily, a monkey wrench that almost hit my toddler in the head included, garbage, kid stood there at 3 years old, flipped me off and said, "Fuck you bitch." He thinks it's hilarious, and doesn't know any better because his mom doesn't give a shit or teach him. Hops in people's yards and steals toys, my yard included. Her younger siblings and mother are always there and they do the exact same things. Apple doesn't fall far from the tree, holy shit. The mom seriously thinks it's fine, he's just a kid. Yeah, whose life you're sending down the shitter because you don't teach right from wrong. Young children whose teeth are already black and rotting from lack of care. Children in dirty, smelly clothes, not from a child playing outside as kids do, but legitimately filthy, unwashed clothes. Kids running wild in public with no attempts to rein them in. It's wild too, they're like, if my kids need clean clothes, they can wash it themselves. Kids under the age of 13 are generally not mature enough and with it enough to stay on top of all the mechanisms and processes of managing themselves. Sending your kids out in dirty clothes to teach them a lesson is neglect, and I say this as someone who has been doing their own laundry since I could reach dryer knobs. In cases like this, it's because the parent is someone who can't conceptualize that another person doesn't know what they know. Ironically, this is a very childish way of thinking, and emo points to an adult who stopped maturing, socially and emotionally, in early adolescence. They, the adult, know to do laundry when their clothes are dirty, so everyone must know, including their elementary-aged kids. It doesn't matter that the adult never told the kid to do this, or how to do laundry. It doesn't matter that a preteen child simply doesn't have the social maturity or life experience to make the dirty clothes equals time to do laundry connection without being prompted in some way. It seems like common sense to the adult because honestly, they probably don't particularly remember being taught how to do laundry as a kid or prompted to do so by their own adults, though it's almost guaranteed that's what happened, so they think they were just born with that knowledge, and anyone not expressing that allegedly innate knowledge, like a kid, must be actively choosing wrong. My family lineage includes a long line of molestation and abuse. To me, it doesn't get any more trash than this. I even got blamed when it happened to me as a kid. Me too, I'm so sorry. I am sorry it happened to you too. Hope you're doing well these days. She passes out drunk on the front porch, doesn't realize her son's father has come from another state to rescue him, and wakes up not knowing where one of her kids is. Oddly specific. It was my grandson's mother. I'm glad your son swooped in there and rescued him. I feel very bad for her other kids though. I hope they turn out okay. Opening parenthesis. Smoking in the car with the kids in the back. I remember when my province passed a law where you couldn't smoke in the car with children in it. My mom said, they can't tell me what to do in my own private vehicle. And I always roll the window down a crack. Is your mom my father? There is a kid, maybe 8 to 10 years old, on the other side of my street right now yelling slurs and telling everyone who walks by to go fuck themselves while their parent sits on the porch smoking weed and laughing. This is a regular occurrence. I'm fairly certain the kid has a mental disorder, but the fact that the parent seems to be encouraging the behavior is pretty trashy. Yeah, I myself have autism, and I had trashy people, but I was fortunate enough to run into a progressive, anti-bigotry crowd at school. Way too often I hear of mentally challenged people getting their shit rocked for saying heinous things, and I strongly believe the parents are at least half fault for it because their child's behavior leaves witnesses to infer that the parents don't teach their kids good values, at least in a way they can understand, which results people saying horrible things, and sometimes promptly getting their ass beat. One of those bumper stickers that says something along the lines of, "My kid's in here. If you hit me, I'll beat your ass. Extra points if they're one's driving like an asshat." I came to here to say this. This chick a few doors down drives like an asshole and her sticker says, "I have a kid, get too close and I'll ding your shit."